5.8K open gate, cinema 4K 120 frames per second, 10-bit, phase detect autofocus, the best IBIS, black, magic, raw, and so much more. This is the Lumix G9II. 2026, here we are. What's up, guys? I have a couple quick little updates before we jump into this incredible and underrated camera, the G9II. First, my Patreon has been totally updated. I added a $1 tier, so if you just want to support, now you can do so for as little as $1. There's also a new tier called Secret Podcast, where I'm gonna be posting one industry pro or creator interview per month on my Patreon. This month, I interviewed Matt Frazier from Lumix. He was on the development team for a very special camera that I'm working on a video about in the future, but that interview is posted in long form on Patreon. And also the 3 tiers that I have on Patreon are also available on YouTube memberships if you'd rather just support right here, if that's easier for you. So you get the same thing across both platforms, but I just wanted to make it easily available to you guys. And I really appreciate the support. It genuinely means the world. So please consider doing that. Just go check it out. I think you're gonna like it, and I'm pumped about this year with you guys. But now let's move on to the G9II. Let's talk about what the heck this camera is. We're filming with it right now. So what is it? First off, I can't believe I'm this late to the game. This camera came out in 2023, and then it had a major firmware update toward the end of 2023 that gave it external RAW over its HDMI feed. It's insane. We're gonna get into all this stuff, but the G9II is a pretty special little camera. This was also the first G series camera to have phase detect autofocus. Pretty nifty. What is G series, you might be asking? Well, no, it's not the channel that tried to defeat PewDiePie in 2018. T-Series! G series stands for their Micro Four Thirds line of Lumix cameras. But please don't let that scare you away from just hearing about this camera. I started my whole career on the GH4 and GH5, and you can get great looking shallow depth of field and background blur. The internet has made it this big thing that it doesn't need to be, but with smart lens choices, creative composition, and just knowing what the heck you're doing, you can get amazing images. It doesn't matter the size of the sensor. But on the flip side of Micro Four Thirds is so many benefits. First of all, affordability. These cameras are typically a lot more affordable than full frame. We'll talk about pricing a little bit later, but you can also have smaller rigs. The lenses themselves are way smaller than full frame lenses, and absolutely no client is gonna wonder if their project was shot on full frame cameras or Micro Four Thirds cameras, or Super 35 for that matter. It really is not that big of a deal. Yes, full frame will give you more background blur if you're truly obsessed with that or you need it for some reason, but the tech has come so far, and what this camera can do internally and externally is just mind-blowing, so hear me out. Another cool feature in the G9II is real-time LUT. Now, I've talked a lot about this on the channel. I honestly didn't know the G9II had this. I barely knew the G9II existed before recently learning about it. Real-time LUT is this awesome feature where you can make your own LUTs or download LUTs from anywhere, upload them to the Lumix Lab app on your phone, transfer them to your camera, which can bank up to 39 LUTs that you can cycle through and either bake them into your footage in any resolution and frame rate, or you can bake them into JPEG photos. When you bake them into photos, you can also add internal grain, up to 3 different strengths, color noise, and you can tweak the LUT further. You can stack LUTs, you can change the opacity of LUTs. It's a really cool feature if you need really quick turnaround footage or JPEG photos that look amazing out of the box. So this might actually be a decent dad cam for some of us out there, simply because if you put a small lens on it, you have a pretty compact form factor. It's not really tiny, like it's definitely not pocketable. It's still got a chunky grip on the camera, but the overall footprint with Micro Four Thirds lenses is just way smaller than full frame. I want to quickly go over the design and build quality of this camera because it was very surprising to me, and I learned some things about it that I was not expecting, and you might not know either. First of all, the quality just feels great. Buttons, textures, everything feel awesome. It has a flip out screen. It has an OLED viewfinder that looks pretty dang good. Tons of custom buttons, but it doesn't have the front record button, so if you really want that, this isn't your camera. Dual SD card slots, headphone and mic jack, USB-C for file transfer and power delivery. But what surprised me the most was the full-size HDMI port. Usually, I guess with compact cameras, I'm expecting micro or mini HDMI. I love that they made the effort to go the full extra mile and give us full-size HDMI. Which made me curious, how the heck did Lumix cram all of this into a Micro Four Thirds camera? Well, turns out it's almost the exact same body shape and design of the newer Lumix S1R2 and S1II. Apparently it's not the exact same dimensions wise, but I ended up fitting it into my S1R2 cage from SmallRig absolutely perfectly. It mounts there like it's native. So if it can fit into the S1II cage or S1R2 cage, it got me thinking, what if I rig this thing out? And the secret weapon, the Blackmagic Video Assist. It's 7 inches of pure glory. And yes, I know this can be seen as a bit overkill, but for some people this might actually be a pretty viable option, even if you swap the expensive video assist for something more affordable. But using the video assist fully unlocks the powers of the G9II, which we're gonna dive into. But first, let me just tell you what this camera can do internally for video, because it's kind of wild. 5.8K 4:3 open gate footage in 420 10-bit, Cinema 4K up to 60 frames per second, 422 10-bit, no crop, Cinema 4K 120 frames per second, 420 10-bit, no crop. I've gone over this in previous videos as well, but Lumix's 420 codecs perform color-wise very similarly to their 422 codec. So for me, they're completely interchangeable and I have no worries about pushing them. And then there's this other fun mode that I've never really seen in a camera before or never noticed before, but it's 4.4K 4:3 open gate up to 60 frames per second. But the fact that multiple years ago, this camera was doing open gate slow motion over 4K is just absurd to me, and it looks awesome. So internally, this camera is wonderful. You can have it in a stripped down package and get gorgeous 10-bit video out of it in any frame rate you need. But what happens if we shoot externally? So when shooting externally over HDMI, you get Blackmagic RAW to the recorder, which gives you 5.8K 4:3 open gate, 5.7K 60 in 17:9, 4.4K open gate 60p, and Cinema 4K all the way up to 120 frames per second. All of those are in Blackmagic RAW with no crop. And this footage just looks incredible. Honestly, the internal 10-bit also looks wonderful. I didn't see like a massive difference or anything, but the difference is the post workflow. So for instance, I tested some shots with RAW where I underexposed by 2 stops and then pulled that all back up in the RAW tab with the exposure slider thing. I can pull up the exposure just fine, and there's definitely like some color noise that gets added in when you're pushing a sensor like this that hard, but it still looks pretty good. And the fact that you can save that footage is great in a pinch. I also then overexposed by 3 stops and was able to pull all that information down and get a perfectly usable, normal, great looking image out of this camera. But the fact that we're using B-RAW gives us access to one little setting, one little checkbox that just brings me closer to Christ, and that's highlight recovery. Look, if I'm in the clouds with Christ, I'm no longer clipped. You know what I'm saying, boys? This little notch is a lifesaver for a camera like this, which is stated to be rated at 13 plus stops of dynamic range. I don't really care about the charts. I've seen the images I can get and they look fantastic. But the fact that if you shoot in RAW, you get even more saving in those highlight graces, it's just beautiful. So who the heck is the G9II for? Years after it's been released, moving into a new year where there's tons of new, affordable, amazing cameras out there. Well, I still think this camera makes sense for quite a variety of people. Let's say you invested in one of the newer Lumix cameras like the S1R2, S1II, S1IIe, and you need a B or a C camera that fits in your kit without breaking the bank. I think the G9II is a wonderful option, and on the used market right now, I don't want to date this video right away, but right now they're going for around like $1,300 USD used, some lower, some higher. So I would really scour the internet if you're gonna go for this and wait for a really good deal. And make sure you check the used sites like MPB and KEH Camera, Adorama, stuff like that. And the crazy thing is the G9II spec-wise is actually pretty similar to the GH7. The G9II doesn't have an internal fan, so if you're shooting in really hot conditions with long takes, maybe not get the G9II, I don't know. It's really cold where I'm at right now, so I can't test it for you guys. I mean, maybe you need your first A camera and you need something reliable that spits out beautiful images. It's relatively compact, the lenses will be affordable. This camera makes so much sense, guys. I built my career on the GH4 and then the GH5. I shot so many music videos, so many weddings, some commercials, event coverage. I did everything with those cameras for years and they never failed me once. And honestly, this camera versus the older ones I mentioned is also way better at photography. And so if you're a hybrid shooter at all and you need something affordable or an additional camera to your Lumix kit, I think this is a no-brainer. But even folks who just want a content creation camera that has good freaking autofocus that you can record yourself, record products, whatever you're gonna do, this is an awesome option that isn't as expensive as those full frame options out there. The lenses are more affordable, it's more portable. Also, this is great because you have open gate. So you could record your videos and then export clips for Instagram and for YouTube widescreen. So that open gate gives you both options and it's really convenient. But let me know, am I crazy for recommending this camera in 2026? First video of the year. Let me know what you guys think of the G9II down below. And make sure to text me when you get home and watch out for deer. Please consider supporting on Patreon or YouTube memberships to support the channel, get your name on my videos, or access to our secret podcast where we have some really cool interviews coming up. This week's shout out goes to Jonah Holland, Patreon member, and I get to see him at Imaging USA, I think next week. So shout out to Jonah, and I appreciate all you guys for your support. Follow me on Instagram for adorable toe pics, and remember that you guys are absolutely much more loved than you might even know. I'll see you in the next video, okay? God bless ya. Bye.